I mean, y'all can just start. I'm gonna have my head down. I'm not being rude. I'm just
Okay.
don't get confused. I gotta get those NFL questions up for the 4 o'clock game. So
Do you think, baby?
Okay.
Sports app.
Word up.
All right. That's Stas Bim. This has been there. Rock That, episode 28. We are back.
Yep.
Took a
We
week
are.
off, but we back in the building.
No doubt.
So, Stilo, I'm gonna steal Stilo's hat. How are you doing, Stilo? What's
Sad.
going on?
All is good, all is good. What's up, family? Great week. Like to give a shout out to my wife. We made our first year of marriage.
Hey,
Nice.
Love you, G. You already know.
Congrats.
Definitely humbled a wild guy. Keeping me in check, keeping me out of trouble.
Shit.
Also, I like to give a shout out to a program that I just started working with. It's a mentorship program that invited me to be part of their sit down and participate in what they're doing called I Matter out in Brownsville.
Yeah,
Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Yeah. And,
Shout out Brownsville.
A lot of good brothers. Shout out to Phil Sean, who invited me, as well as the staff of Brooklyn Combine, which is another podcast that is doing really big things out there for the community and having that conversation about social issues, as well as the plight of our youths in our neighborhoods, and trying to do good things with them. And I appreciate them having me and allowing me to share my experiences and my knowledge of what I have to offer the kids. And other than that, just trying to keep busy. Been on a low this week. Got a lot of things going on.
No pun intended.
Yeah, because you already know. So for the most part, you know how I do. Keeping busy, keeping these legs moving. Mr. Prance Low, what's good with you, family?
What's goody? What's
Flatbush
goody?
Corner.
Flatbush
I'm
Corner.
on the Flatbush side
you're on the
today.
Flatbush side.
Church Ave representative Prance Low
Careful.
of the Almighty Low Lives. Salute to everyone. Yeah, the week was great. You know what I mean? I can't front. It went by fast. All them rainy days was kind of cool, but salute to you on that 1 year anniversary though.
Appreciate you.
You already know. And salute to me for my 1 month anniversary. Holla! She's still, I ain't in the
strong?
doghouse yet.
Still
I'm still
going
going
strong?
strong. One day at a time,
Making
baby.
sure.
You know what I mean? But
all 30 of them, yeah.
Facts.
Oh, you married motherfucker.
You know it. Check it. So, yesterday was definitely eventful. Salute to, friend of the podcast, Jesse Pais, for having his event called Rooftop Legends yesterday at his school where he's the dean of. And, it was a great turnout. A lot of old friends I ain't seen in a long time, from elementary to junior high, plus DJ Enough, plus Bones Malone was hosting. It was crazy. Shout out to Boogie Blind. Shout out to DP1. Definitely. He was DJing plus on the dance floor. They was playing all them up rock songs and all of that. It was crazy. And all the pieces was magnificent up in there. You know what I mean? And
You
then
look crazy, yeah.
yeah, shout out to Team Magnificent. We went down to Dumbo after that, and they had a under the Brooklyn Bridge. They had a photo shoot. You know what I mean? Shout out to Nacho for coming down out here and showing love to everybody, and that was a good turnout also. You know what I mean?
Did they have a low battle?
Huh?
Did they have a low battle at the event?
Nah, not at all. Everybody just came out and if it was a low battle, Don would have won because he came through with this crazy trench coat with the western back. And the crazy thing is I had on the old denim jacket that
One of my favorite pieces.
you know what I
too.
mean? So
Cowboy
it was crazy. We flicked it up together and brought the old to the new and stuff like that. But Robbie Rob, what's goody, baby?
Yes. Back after that week hiatus. I've been cooling, man. I caught David Wright's last game as a Met
I
yesterday.
felt your pain.
Try not to cry at a baseball game, Seeing Wright and Reyes at third and short was real nostalgic. Reyes led off with a double, so he's played like shit for the last 5 years. So it's nice to see him have his little shine. But they're giving him his farewell today. So I don't know. This was supposed to be our infield of the future, and that didn't feel like that was that long ago.
Well, David was always hurt.
Yeah, he's got like spine. He's got heart, man. Like he really fought back
He
to
played
get through.
through.
He said there were a lot of days he'd wake up and couldn't feel his legs, and like
Wow.
he and last night he walks on his first plate appearance, and then there's a ground ball, and he goes to break up the double play, but he slides hard in the second. Like the guy's crazy. Like he's like I'm going out on my own terms. His like toddler daughter throughout the first. It was beautiful.
Nice.
It was a nice little send off. They pulled him for the game. We got out of there because there wasn't really much to watch. It was like a 1-0 game. But I will be back. I finally watched the Mets win for the first time after 10 attempts and 10 failing attempts this year. I went to 10 Mets games.
We thought it was because of you.
Without a
Showing
win.
up.
And I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I finally saw them win in person. So on my 11th try of the season. So now I'm 2-10 for the 2018 Mets season. And I'm stupid. I got a 20-game plan for next year, so I'm going back. I like the pain and the agony, I guess.
So
I
you
don't
went
know.
to 10 games and they only won 2?
No, I went to 12 games and they only won 2.
Two.
They lost the first 10. But I had a bottle of Mets branded wine that I got from my friend's pops does the MLB wine. So he gave me that, and I was saving it for a win. That thing was collecting dust, man. Like I had it since April. So in late September, I finally got to open it. Other than that, I've been cooling. I listened to a lot of new music the last couple of weeks, I guess.
Here you go.
Carter 5 is crazy.
Really?
You don't want to talk about that, though.
No, hold on. The Carter 5, I will say, like, I'm very happy for Wayne to finally get to put that out. It's cool hearing the final version of Mona Lisa because they completely switched the keys up.
Yeah.
Martin Shkreli actually leaked that, like, 2 years ago on live.
He's a
And
jerk.
he had like all the music. He had the Carter 5, blowing money and
right.
shit. But he's currently incarcerated. But
Yep.
that explains it all.
I don't know. I
job,
think
good
Birdman. I don't know how that went down. But anyway, the keys are crazy on that. He and Kendrick both snapped. There's a few tracks in there. It's 23 tracks, so there's gonna be a few that aren't it.
Right.
But I also had I listened to the Logic album.
No, come on, no, let's not talk about that piece. All right.
Well, I mean, I think the best way I describe it.
The way what you put up was the best way that you described
Caliente
it.
basura.
Oh yeah, I said it was garbage juice meets dumpster water. But how I really think about it is it's like retro polo using USPA fabrics.
Wow.
Like he really tried. He's like
That was a good one, man.
that boom
If I had
bap.
a sound effect right
like,
now.
It just wasn't it. The only track that I mean he had the whole Woo on the track, and Ghostface gave him a throwaway. Ray snapped on it. Meth snapped on it. RZA snapped on it too. I was like, oh shit, like it was crazy. But his verse was just lyrical miracle nonsense. It was like dated, like it's shit we heard before. Like lyrically, like, and if you're gonna say that this is what lyricism is, and you're gonna try to teach kids this, then you're doing more setting back. You're doing more setting back for the culture than any of these clout rappers are, because they're not claiming to do that. If you say this is what it is, this is where we're supposed to be reaching, and it's not, then you're doing more harm than good. And that's the same gripe I had with the J. Cole album. Like, it wasn't lyrically pushing the boundaries the way a West Side Gun, a Rock Marciano, an Action Bronson, Lil
Shout
Wayne.
out to that
like,
rock album.
that new rock album is still it. Like,
already.
I was on Travis for a minute.
Behold the Dark Horse is crazy. Shout to Jazz for putting us on. But
I got some things
I
to say
already
about
know.
this. It's coming. The heat is coming.
So anyway, there's probably a lot more music talk we could get into, and I quickly deleted the Eminem album off my phone. I almost threw my phone too.
Whoa.
That shit.
I
You
told
need a Tylenol PM to go with that one. I mean, it's not nice.
Maybe it is the Tylenol PM.
It's just too like it's like drilling into. It's not like if I think primarily now what I look for in a rap song in 2018 is it has to slap first, and then I need bars. Don't just give me bars on something that doesn't slap, cause I can't drive to it. I can't be out. I can't be out and listen to it.
That was my major
I
problem.
can't
with
find a
Eminem.
situation for that. It's
His beat
like-
selection sucked as usual.
yeah, like find a track and then rap on it and make it mesh and make it work.
But now that
But
would
don't just
that wouldn't work. I can't hear him on a
It's
future
hard.
beat rapping.
Nah.
Too late, brother.
I don't even know what the solution is for that guy. But anyway, enough of my rambling.
Three letters.
Mr. John Green.
D-R-E.
Listen, you killing it with that sweater today, I must say.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. Anyone who's got a large 911 knit and wants to side swap for a medium, I'd be happy to do
You're
that
not
for
gonna
you.
find that.
Yeah, I know.
Nah, you're not gonna find that. So you better just rock that. Lose some weight, motherfucker.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do some calisthenics,
Yeah,
man.
join
I
the
gotta.
gym with
You
me,
know
bro.
what
Motherfucker John Green, man.
Anyway,
What's good with you?
let's see. I got invited to a photography exhibition by my boy Ismael.
Mhm.
He
Yeah, great talent.
yeah, he does a lot of like hip hop photos, just event photos. Cali Fist photography. That was cool. I ran into Wayno, It's the Real, the guys from the podcast. John from YRB magazine.
Mhm. Shout out, John.
You know, yeah. Other than that, I did that. I went to the Rooftop Legends with this degenerate over here.
Hey,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And we got mad. Yo, shout out to all the people that came up to me and said, "Yo, been there, rock that. I love your podcast."
Facts.
And there were people that said that. So, you know,
Dope.
that's dope. You know what I'm saying? To think that we created something that people are actually following and listening to.
It's finding legs.
I hope we don't have any Logic fans listening.
Listen.
It's all good.
So another thing, and me and Prince went back and forth about this, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. You know, Pitchfork, them motherfuckers at Pitchfork, and I think I told Robbie too. They gave
The Rock Marciano album was
Yeah.
7.1.
they gave it a 7.1, but my problem is, I think they just went too far, as far as like they coming at Rock, saying like something about some homophobic shit,
Mhm.
which.
No, but they real sidebarred.
Yeah, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is the problem with that is that, think about it, we're all in media. That can happen to any of us.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? People are like, stick to your job. That's not your job. You know what I'm saying? And
Too
it's
much.
just fucked up.
And the way I look at it, it's like, could he avoid using certain words and terms, and would it probably in 2018 and beyond be a good look for him? Probably, right? But the whole, like, the lead of the article was just so focused on that,
Yeah, it's like.
and then the body of the article was bigging up
Was
the
bigging him
album
up.
the entire
I
time.
just thought it was.
So it was like, oh, this is like a sort of clickbait situation. Now,
Yeah.
the other thing is, right, now this is where the music to other aspects of media, right? If there was a character in a movie who was portraying these views, that shit wouldn't really get taken down by a critic that way, right?
Right.
Like, he's building a cinematic experience for you, right?
Always.
So if like one aspect may be problematic to you, that's that, and you can comment on it, sure. But to make that the entire, like, that's like saying like one character in like a Tarantino film is doing something problematic, and that ruined the whole film. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really look at it that way.
No.
You got to look at the whole picture. But I don't know. I thought it was very misguided.
Yeah, but they're always doing like little bullshit. Like they did that shit to Mayhem, not with the homophobes. but,
Right.
like, they had problems with Mayhem.
They've done it to action too.
They had under
They
action.
did crazy. They had protests at colleges. They killed his performances at a
Right.
few shows because they said it was misogynistic and stuff. It's like every aspect of music gets looked at with a microscope. Now, mind you, who was it? Eminem. They didn't really give him much for using the same shit.
I wonder why.
Hmm.
I wonder why.
Speak truth.
But I mean, everybody got an opinion at the end of the day.
Nah, but that
Opinion
but
is like
opinions,
assholes.
yeah,
Exactly.
everybody got one, but don't affect the man's
But
position. and what he
don't.
doing.
My whole thing is don't affect the man's cash flow
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's my point.
because you put shit out there.
Especially as a
Once it's
contributing
on the
writer.
once
Like,
it's
who
on
are
the
you to
internet,
fuck someone's
it
bag
stays
up?
on there forever, and you don't want that type of shit. But anyway, sidebar.
Good publicity or bad publicity is what? Publicity.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the music show for itself.
Right.
Like we just all agreed upon. We still rocking out to rock
Right.
every day, all day.
Facts.
Salute to jazz.
Exactly. And the sidebar, my artist AG the Coroner came out with a song
Mhm.
last week.
Yes.
Yo,
I
Mhm.
told you. I gave you my commentary on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did as well.
You know, it's on iTunes. It's on every platform that you can buy music.
Fire,
That was a
fire,
that was
fire.
a pivot
So,
for AG.
fire.
I didn't know he was gonna go in that direction.
Well, actually, you know what I want you to do? after, you know, our guest, I'm not going to say his name, but after we finish with him,
I almost did too.
you know, put the song on after the
Done.
podcast.
Yeah.
Done. We'll rock
Nice.
out to AG at the end
Yeah.
of this.
We'll have AG up here soon. We actually
Yes. We
have
need that.
another song coming out in 2 weeks.
Nice.
So get ready for that.
Lit.
Keep
you know.
pushing, John. I see you.
You know, I'm trying.
All right.
He's a busy guy.
Polo Paretta.
So let's get to our guest.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've known this guy for a long time.
Hmm.
He's like a sneaker professor.
Mm.
You know, Mr. Sean OSD.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
The OG
I thought I was gonna say
soul.
OCD.
So what does the OSD stand for?
Right. Well, Sean gonna tell
Oh, I'm
you.
sorry, my
Sean
bad. My
is I'm
bad.
saying Sean is a gentleman.
Oh,
of
I'm just
leisure.
eager.
So Sean,
Yes,
tell
sir.
the young whippersnapper the definition of your thing.
OSD, obsessive sneaker disorder.
Mm.
So I am Sean Paperchasr Williams of OSD.
I'm a recovering addict as well.
Um,
Graduated.
There's no cure for it. Actually. So if you have it, you will always
That's
have it.
it.
Yeah.
Sort of like, you know, it's a tough situation. There's no pills, no
Nah.
prescriptions of any kind to
Just
cure your
transition
OSD.
to other sneakers.
You can't just like wean off into loafers. Like there's no way to. It's
Nah,
just it's
nah,
a dub.
you're
Yeah.
stuck.
It's for life.
You're stuck. So, you know,
Once you win it, you win it.
I am a brand story expert, a 30-year plus sneaker addict, for lack of a better description. And I'm also the teacher of what's called the Social Studies, SOLECIAL, Social Studies Sneaker Industry Education Program. On top of that, I guess you could say you gentlemen can agree or disagree to the level of cultural curation that I involve myself in as well. So, you know, it's funny, we all sitting here
Mhm.
based on that kind of scenario where I actually curated, you know, an event for a Capsule Trade Show
Yes, sir.
back in February, and now look, here we are.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
Yes.
That's how we really
Salute.
all got.
Salute.
this is actually pretty dope that, you know, here we are now, a few months removed from that dope
Yeah.
experience, you know. But I'm happy you guys did this, man.
Yes,
I'm happy to see Been There, Rock That, like rolling along. You know,
Yes,
episode
sir.
28 today.
Yeah.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to do this, man.
I
This-
appreciate you for your invite into Capsule too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what it is, man? You know what it was? I'm going to tell you like this. And, you know, to hear you guys talk about it from the music perspective, I have to talk about it from the footwear and fashion perspective. We got to make sure that we control the narrative
Mhm.
for everything that people are trying to pick at and use to tell their story, right?
True.
And, you know, we had this conversation while we was there, you know,
Yeah.
for that week at Capsule, and how important it is for us to make sure that we control it, you know, because if we allow the media, you know, you guys have the beef with Pitchfork, I have beef with, you know, publications like Complex for the same reason.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
Because, you know, when you want to tell the story from your own perspective for marketing purposes or for whatever your purposes are, and you start deleting people and you start leaving out facts and you start rewriting things, if we don't take it upon ourselves to be present to tell the story the right way, then that's what's going to prevail.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's what my mission is, Rob, is to make sure that from a sneaker perspective, we got more women and minorities working in the sneaker industry, and that those of us, you know, who have been around for a very long time and know the real deal behind certain products and stories,
Get
we're the
involved.
ones who tell that story.
Mhm.
And there's no dispute when we tell that story.
Right.
You could put your trash out there, but when we show up, your trash goes where it belongs, in the trash. So it's great to see us here today because of that being the common thing that I set out to do when I put us all together in the first place. You know, I got John in the mix from, you know, rolling along when we got started, and you know, then Steve, I had known Steve for a long time already. But,
Yes.
you know,
On the low.
but me and Prance go back even further because I'm a Flatbush head.
There you
Special
go.
Ed was my
Damn Flatbush thing. What is it?
Special Ed was my barber. We went to school, Walt
See.
Whitman Junior High.
Sheesh.
You know, I was there for the beginning of everything.
Yes,
you
sir.
know? Church Ave, Dollar
See?
Vans, Dollar
All
Cab
right.
Labs.
Prince, I just think everybody's from Flatbush now.
All that.
Yeah,
I'm,
of
I'm,
course.
It's a
We've
planet
had
of its
85
own.
Flatbush guests and 0 Queens guests. So really,
Oh,
really.
Listen, we tried.
We
though.
had to
I
protect
know.
you.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah,
We'll make
yeah,
it
yeah.
work.
That's a whole nother
You deal with that.
conversation.
Don't blame the borough.
But
Anyway.
definitely shout out to Flatbush always, my dude, because there's a lot of history out there that
It is.
need to be told.
It is.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So,
And you know, one of the things that is important to also make sure that always gets told is the fact that there are a lot of New York neighborhoods who we were driving forces in the industry. Industries. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's why when I hit you up, you know, just to tell the story for the audience, you know, when I got hit to do an exhibit for a capsule,
Right.
my partner D. Wells got hit. He had a relationship with Capsule already. He had been doing some stuff with them in Paris. So it came time for them to do it in New York. And he was like, yo, you ready to do the spot again? You know, we got Capsule, let's do New York. I was like, all in, let's do it. So they were like, we need some new energy because, you know, the trade show vibe is kind of stale. The trade show vibe is, you know, what it is. Everybody set up their booth. They put their little clothes up. It's, you know, people come around. Hopefully they write some orders. Hopefully there's some, you know, little potential business there. But we need some new energy to get people into, you know, really moving around in these trade shows again. So the minute we got the call to do that, my partner D killed it in Paris with his thing that he did, and then it was time for us to do New York. I was like, all right, so how am I going to roll? What story am I going to tell for 3 days? And I said, I don't want this to just be sneakers because you got other brands in here already that are sneaker brands, and these ain't going to be those brands if I tell those stories. I'm a dig.
Right.
And in order for me to really do it where I felt like it was time to dig and throw some real dope stuff on display, I was like, we got to tell the personal hip-hop stories. We got to tell the personal fashion stories. We got to tell the you got this from us stories. So I was talking to Crash, you know, shout out to Crash.
Definitely.
I said, Crash, I said, I'm calling Prince. I said, I'm calling Prince. I said, you're going to have your shoes on display. You're going to have your art on display. I'm going to have my curated old school joints on display. I said, but for the next 3 to 4 days, we need to smack them. So that first day was April.
Definitely.
April Walker came through with her book, Get Your Ass Off the Couch. Did some book signings, you know. The energy was crazy. People started hearing she was in the building. They started coming over like, oh my God, April was good. You know, all these folks who, you know, big fashion folks was rolling through. And then that energy was there. So it was like, okay, wait till they see what happens the next day. You know what I'm saying? So that's when it was your turn, Prince.
No
and it was
doubt.
like, you know, and I could tell at the beginning when I hit you with it, you was like, yo, really? Like, on display?
I
Like,
was honored.
I'm putting joints on display for these folks, showing how to, like, yeah, dude, we're going to curate this experience. You
No doubt.
And remember, you was like, yo, what should I bring? I was like, I know you know what to bring. I'm not worried about that. I got your space already set up for you. Because I knew that once they saw, and the way we presented how you got that stuff put up and just there for them, that there was going to be that energy there where it was going to be like, this is official over here. This whole little 12 by 12 area over here is more official than everything in here.
And I could bear witness. The second we started putting up the pieces, it was literally like guys from other booths. A lot of Japanese walked over.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what's that? Oh, who's this? Oh, that's, hold on, Jiggy guy. Oh, autograph.
See, the funny
Jiggy guy, hold on.
And Steve, what was dope, right? Steve, was the fact that we were in the area where, that whole area where we set up, that was the area where stuff was for sale.
Yeah, yeah.
And we purposely were not selling anything.
But
So
they thought
they
a lot
thought
of
so.
things were for
So
sale.
that
though.
energy, just to show you in the atmosphere where we were, where people were coming over to that area with the expectation to buy, and then they got to see all this look but don't touch. It was like, oh man, I wish. You know, we got a lot of questions. Was low gear for sale? Were these kicks for sale? Was, you know what I mean?
They was starving for that polo on the wall. I tell you
And
that.
what I remember too, it became like a situation where Prince was actually educating them
And
on
that
the
was
history
and that was the
of
point.
the brand and the
That was the
influences.
point.
But at the same time, we had Thurston book out there.
Right.
We had Rack book out there that they didn't know we had literature
Right.
and
Yeah.
where
Right.
to find it and stuff like
Right.
that. So I was definitely educating them
Right.
about.
Mhm.
And then we had just finished what? Horsepower.
You just
Horsepower.
finished Horsepower,
Yeah,
right?
so
yeah, just
we got
finished
to
Horsepower.
present that and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So yeah, it was
And
definitely a great
and see,
time.
that was the important piece of it, right?
Mhm.
Was the fact that once people walked into the booth, if you realized you couldn't buy anything, you were like, "Why is this here?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I can't buy it. You just like totally fucked my world up by telling
Yeah.
me I can't get that trench off the wall.
Mm.
Why is this here?
Right.
And that left the door open
Mhm.
for us to finally school people and tell them, like, here's the deal. This is the movement.
That's
This
it.
was the movement. This
Mhm.
will always be the movement. This is ours, not yours.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's
Were
actually
you-
how the
Definitely.
conversation
Were you gonna say,
went.
Ron?
Mhm.
You gonna say something?
No, I'm just like when it comes to stuff like that, like the literature specifically, like a lot of the vintage curators out there now don't know the history, right? So like when I see someone on Instagram post a piece, I'm like, you don't really know what this is. I'll cite the book and I'll send it to them, like, yo, like learn about this before you
Sure
really
did.
like I've used those. I've really cited my sources, and you can't get like a more primary source than Thurston or Rack or yourself, right? So like I would actually like help educate people on that and use the literature because I have both books at home
No doubt.
and I gotta get the Thurston one signed still. Rack signed the first one, but we'll get there. But yeah, like like I think it's like important for people to really understand the history of it before they go about running around acting like they know what it is. Like
Right. Well, here's a conversation I had with Prince that was, and he realized how important it was for him to be there, and then all you guys accompanying him as well, was the fact that the Low story is one that the industry can't take from y'all. Because as much as they try to tie it to a 2 Chainz, to a Kanye, to anybody else,
Mhm.
the real deal is Marcus Garvey houses
Yeah.
and
It's implanted in
St.
that
John's.
concrete.
John.
And
Yeah.
you can't take that away. It's like the narrative of where Low's rise came from is sort of like a Robin Hood theory that nobody ever imagined would happen.
Sure did.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't pin that on Kanye and all the rest of these guys who they try to give it to because it's safe to give them that Low narrative.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things that I was happy that I didn't see in Horsepower, because I was concerned at first, honestly, without knowing who did it. I was concerned at first when I first heard. I was like, they're gonna turn this into one of them things where they give the credit to one of these dudes out here who can afford to buy all this polo now because he's rich,
Not realizing the
and
Rag
not
to Riches
realizing the
story.
worldwide influence from these dudes from Brooklyn.
Exactly.
And not realizing, what I like to call the terror in your era that came along with that. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
And that's why I said it was important for me, because I'm doing it from the sneaker perspective, to have you there and have y'all curated from the fashion perspective.
Mhm.
Because nobody wants that responsibility when the shit gets real, when you really got to tell a real story of what this was like,
No doubt.
Like when you look at now, like downtown Brooklyn, Albee Square Mall area, it's all nice now. It's called City Point. It's got the cow mark, all this fancy shit. But when it was Albee Square Mall, you were lucky to make it out with your kicks.
You have to
That's
be
it.
thorough.
Us Flatbush kids, we go downtown Brooklyn, we had to get back to that 2 train in Nevin Street.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? And we made it to that train and get back on our side of town. I was like, all right, where you got those from? Yeah, I was downtown. Where you was downtown, son?
By yourself?
Albee Square, son?
The goons were out.
Yeah.
They were out and about.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes along with our stories for us to make sure that we tell it so that people see that, nah, this didn't just happen. This isn't new. Like, a lot of us risk our lives. A lot of us are dead for this stuff. And we're not saying that as a badge of honor or courage, like we want street cred from it.
Not at all.
it's a matter
But
of
this
history.
is a part of a real responsibility that we carried with being able to express ourselves. That's what's
Exactly.
important, is don't look at it as we died over some frivolous material items. Nah, we were using these items to express ourselves and be quote unquote, and this is not just air quotes for doing it, be original.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it.
So we could all have the same stuff and we all rock it different, which is what led to the varied array of styles of all kinds. That's why you can do a Logos on the Deuce and have thousands show up, and it's like, yo, everybody's expressing themselves differently through this.
No doubt.
And you'll see a lot of the same items rocked differently.
Right.
Exactly.
This is why you can see, you know, sneaker events where a couple of people back in the days.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my criticism of sneaker culture now, because not everybody pays more to look the same than we ever paid to be different.
Let's get into that.
And that was the next segue too.
Yeah.
So
I was waiting for you to open up
Yeah.
that.
Right.
I work right by V Files and Stadium Goods, right?
Mhm.
So I see
He seen it
clones
Yeah,
walking
all
by.
day.
Like,
Supreme,
it'll
Off-White,
be the same
Yeezys, everything.
Wotherspoon, and I love those shoes,
Mhm.
by the way. Like
Mhm.
that, I
Yeah.
voted for them. I voted for them. Like it was the presidential election. I was like, these have to get made. You know, I mean, I was so about that happening. But seeing everyone with the exact same fit on, taking the same photo on the same block, I'm like, even like I'm clearly the youngest person in the room, you know. But like my sneaker era was like I've said it before on the show, like Bape from 04 to 07 was my Ralph 92 era.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was doing that because everybody was doing SB Dunks. And I was like, I'm not trying to show up to school in the same shoes as the next man.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm coming through in some patent leather, multicolored, crazy looking shoes. And
Marvel
like,
Bapes.
it's like, you got fake Forces on? I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm wearing right now. I'm wearing some fake Air Forces. But, you know, like, them not knowing and me knowing was something special. And, like, walking down the block, and it was something where it's like, I was like, oh, shit. Like, that was, like, I was always, like, cool about sneakers. I always loved sneakers. I never wanted Jordans as a kid because I was a diehard Knicks fan. I was like, I'd rather have the Ewings. I don't want Jordans. I don't want Pippins. The only ones I had were the Rodmans of any of the Bulls players. Because I thought they had the Converse ones with the sun tattoo on them.
Yeah.
Those shits were crazy.
Yeah.
If I could find a pair of those, I'll pick those up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Possible.
okay.
eBay.
Possible.
I haven't looked, so I just, you know.
Possible.
Yeah, eBay.
But, you know, I never really... I remember specifically getting my first pair of Jordans, and it was after he was a Wizard. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, he's done? Okay, I could... You know, and they weren't a Bulls colorway. It was like the white and green fours. You know, like, I saw them... That was back when you could get them on clearance still. I got them for like $80 at VIM. You know, so like when it came to sneakers, I was like, I had to make sure I was doing something different. When everyone was doing Forces, I did Dunks. When everyone was doing SB Dunks,
Then you moved on.
I moved on.
Yeah.
And I found Bape. But
Yeah.
like, so what was the first sneaker that started the OSD for you? Like, what like, how did this? Was it a single pair, or
I
was
never
it?
get tired of answering this question because of everything that came along with it.
Yeah, because I know it was something special.
So, the Nike Air Max 1 from
Mhm.
'87, red, gray, and white is my shoe from the beginning. That's when it was like, yeah, kicks is gonna be the thing for me for a long time, because that was the first shoe I bought with my own money.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first shoe where I actually experienced this level of like racism in a retail establishment. Shout out to Paragon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they go for that.
Snobby bastards.
They go for that.
Yeah, you had to be real bougie to go and be a
So that was the first experience with that level of what they were calling at the time like retail racism. And then the reaction when I came back around at 34th Street between Beverly and Tilden with them shoes on, dude, I have never had a reaction to any shoes I've worn since then, and I've had close to 4,000 pairs of sneakers in my life since then. And I've never had the reaction that I got to those. Because people were stopping me in the street driving by their cars like, yo, that's the joints with the air bubbles, son. Yo!
Straight out the future.
Yo, how you do that? You pump those up? Like, yeah, I remember specifically this one dude yelling at me. I was walking up towards Church Ave on 34th, passing PS 181 schoolyard. You know what I'm talking about?
Of
The
course.
ball court was there. And this one dude stopped me. He's like, yo, so what happened if you get a flat?
Bang, bang.
Yo, so like my memories with that shoe, everything, like that was the first shoe I saved up my own hard-earned money to get. Like I had been working since 14, but my mom was still buying my shoes because as long as my report card was straight, she was like, "I got you. You Macy's 34th Street every year back to school. As long as your schoolwork is right, you know, you Vim and Friedman's on Flatbush, wherever you want to go, as long as your joints is right, you know." So that shoe was the first one. I was like, you know what? I don't even need moms on this one. I'm going right up the block because I was working on 15th Street between 5th and 6th Avenue.
So hop, skip, and a jump from
So
Paragon,
it was
yeah.
right hop, skipping the jump from Paragon. I knew they was gonna be one of the spots that had them.
Well, definitely.
Definitely.
Went up in there. I was like, yeah, I want those. And the dude was like, all right, sure, give me a minute. Put me in the holding pattern, put me in parentheses and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, like, I want the shoes, sir. Like, I literally got to the point where I pulled out the money. I pulled out the $100 and showed him I had the money. He was like, okay, yeah, great. They're going to be upstairs for you. I was like, so, you know, you had to pay for everything Paragon upstairs, go back upstairs. He sent the shoes upstairs. Wouldn't let me try them on.
Wow.
So I had to go upstairs. I was like, yo, I hope these joints fit, man. This size 8, 8.5. I hope they fit. You know, so got them joints. As soon as I got out the store.
On your feet.
As soon as I got out the store, right there, you know, Union Square is right there on the diagonal. Got over towards Union Square, threw my joints on, head right back down to 7th Avenue to hit that 2 train. I rocked them shits all the way home.
You know, it's funny you say, I always tell the kids, back in the days how it used to be. They never, even till now, if I go out and get a fresh pair of sneakers, whatever I have on comes off.
Yeah.
And I still do that.
But you know the funny thing about that story, right? And the reason why I said I never get tired of telling that story, because I've told it hundreds of times already. It's usually one of those questions that people always ask me. To this day, John, Steve, Prince, Rob, when I tell that story, I still do not remember what the hell clothes I had on. I just know they didn't match. I know they didn't match.
It ain't even matter.
It ain't even match. I know that for a fact. It couldn't have matched. You know what I'm saying?
So is that a shoe when it comes out? It's like an absolute must cop.
4 pairs every time in retros.
Wow.
I skipped it this past retro because when they did it, and just show you how, you know, just like y'all are connoisseurs, the mesh was not right.
Okay.
The mesh in the toe box was not the original mesh from when that shoe dropped. So I was like, pass.
What I just like recently, actually probably within the last week, what I saw about that shoe specifically was, I think in '86, the initial version of it had a larger air bubble.
Yes.
And I never saw that.
And they had to make the midsole with 2 pieces.
Right.
Because the bubble was so big, they had to take a rear piece on the back to put on just to hold it firm.
So they probably, the structural integrity wasn't right, and they probably had to revamp it for '87.
Right, because it was a revolutionary cushioning system, man. That bubble in the back of that shoe, and then.
Do you think they'll ever retro that '86 version?
No.
Because I saw that, I was like, oh, it looks cool.
No.
The '87 looks better. Like the Air Max 1 is like, it's probably Mount Rushmore sneaker models.
Yeah.
I mean, for almost everybody,
Definitely.
you know, it
the
paved the way.
foundation.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, when that dropped, were you involved with the Air Max 1? Were y'all getting into that?
Yeah, of course I am. You know what you know.
I
I got my
heard,
joints from Foot Locker and World Trade Center. I had a Foot Locker up in there.
They
I
had-
caught my
that's right.
joints in there.
Remember they had the Foot Locker on 14th Street. That's where I got mine. It's
I
like
actually
right
almost
when you
wore a
come
pair
up the train.
today. Not that colorway, but I almost wore
Yeah, I
a
had mine on yesterday.
pair.
He won't wear them for me today.
Alright.
He won't wear 'em for me today. He had to go stunt. So he had to go.
That's it, baby.
So,
Yeah.
So Sean, so what do you like? What's your synopsis on the sneaker culture right now?
Well, here's the thing, right? I always get these people who are like, even some of the dudes who are our age, they're like, oh, there is no more sneaker culture. It sucks. I'm like, you know what? That's because you're not doing anything about it that you feel that way. You're like, you look at the younger kids and you don't like what you see. And as opposed to building a bridge and being a purveyor or a curator or an educator, you choose to just bitch about what you see these kids doing. Like, you know, if you're not going to build a bridge and if you're not going to exercise the 5th element, right? The 5th element in hip hop is knowledge, right?
Right.
Right.
It's the least used these days.
Like Sean.
Definitely.
It's the least used.
I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming.
I know that we come. I personally don't think these kids take the time to understand the history. Me personally, I think
Go ahead.
technically the hype beast term they use is specifically is what the generation is now.
Yeah.
All right. I always reflect when I see you. You give me a moment in time where I'm like, man, I remember. There was one incident I felt I saw you at a spot. We weren't supposed to link up. We were probably trying to beat each other to a pair of Opium 180s. Man, I was telling Dave about this story. Nonetheless, I feel like the saturation now takes away from the essence collectors.
Well, here's the thing, right?
You know, I feel like now it's more buy to sell than to be genuine appreciators of the shoe game and being the unique guy out there in the streets rocking these pieces, you know?
But here's the thing. You get rid of the things you don't see value in. And
Facts.
here's what we got to take. And sneaker culture is hip-hop culture. That's one of the things I teach everywhere I go around this world. Sneaker culture is a derivative of hip-hop culture.
Absolutely.
So, again, with the fifth element being knowledge, right? So I'm going to give it to you from another perspective. You just went to Rooftop Legends yesterday, right?
Sure.
So let's talk about how a rite of passage goes for a graffiti artist. So when I wanted to learn how to write, I had to go to a writer. And I had to say to him, I want to be down. He gave me tags. What do you want to call yourself first, right? Pick a name. He'd do a tag for you. Go home and practice. You came back? All right, I think you're ready for throwies now. Take that. Practice that. Come back? Think you're ready for pieces now. There's a whole apprentice and mentorship thing that takes place. And knowledge that's shared, right? You're a dancer, right? You couldn't just pop up one day and be like, yo, I'm going to throw it down. You had mentors.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Buddha
Buddha
Stretch.
Stretch being
Thank
one of the
you.
greatest of all time
you.
out here, right? So sneakers is no different when you look at it from the hip-hop perspective. When you look at some of the younger cats who we're like, oh, man, y'all is on that bullshit. I can't fuck with that. That bullshit to them is the equivalent of what we was doing back in the days because there was nobody to tell them. You know what I'm saying? And for them, the value they see in what they're doing now is because we didn't show them that there was more value in the stuff that came before it. So when they get a shoe now and it's like, oh, right now everybody's on buy one, flip one. Or buy this one, wear it once for the gram, flip it,
Well,
and buy
scrub
the
it
next
first, then flip
right,
it.
buy the next hot shoe for
Yeah.
next week. So now they're recycling this money and just flipping for social media approval. That's not hip hop. That's not what we do this for. So when they do that, I'm already looking at a whole miseducated bunch of people. I don't even have an issue with miseducation because if you're miseducated, somebody's got to educate you.
But I don't think the generation care to learn.
You can't say that because they didn't have. We haven't given them the opportunity.
The reason why I say that, I have nieces and nephews who I've educated, and one of my nephews actually was doing quite good. I think a few years, like maybe 2 years ago, he made about $70,000, 14 years old.
Doing what?
Reselling, you know, educating him, and pretty much let him know, listen, these are hard to find pieces. Flip this, learn the history. I've given him books, everything, Slam magazine, you know what.
But see, here's what you did. You taught him a contradiction.
In what way?
Because you taught him the value of flipping something that he should really be keeping and curating.
No, well, maybe I'm saying this to say I gave him the education, but you have to remember how we came up. We collected, but yet we used a lot of what we took, flipped, in order to get the collection.
I never did that.
Okay, so that's where I can, and I was taught that way.
So see,
You
so
know?
you see where I'm going.
So that's where I'm saying.
So you see where I'm going.
Now, with that being said, when I went to the next generation, they're not thinking about all the way collecting. Now their mind is like, I just want the money. And where you're saying now, where they're buying stuff, put a little soap on it, clean it, and resell it. That's the mentality of the culture now, I feel.
Well, see, that's not culture. And I have to agree with people when they say, yo, there is no more sneaker culture in that regard.
That's why I said there is no culture. The sneaker culture is
but
not
it's our fault if we haven't taught them right.
Our
Our fault.
I can agree to disagree.
And here I'm going to give you a case in point, right? My son is 17 years old in March, right? So last night, and shout out to the Kick Your Game family, because I did that event last night at New Eurekan Poets Cafe called Kick Your Game. So it's basically going to be like I told you, it's going to be the Def Poetry Jam of sneakers. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's dope.
So called my son up last night. I was like, yo, what you doing? Nothing. I was like, I need you to meet me in the city at 6 o'clock and bring you to this event with me. He's like, what are we doing? I was like, it's sneaker related. Don't worry. Just don't want some, get cleaned up. You just came from playing ball. Get cleaned up. Meet me in the city. So 17-year-old kid, Fort Greene, Brooklyn. What do you think was on his feet? I'm gonna let everybody guess what you think was on his feet. He's 16 at the moment, 17 in March. He goes to school in Manhattan. He lives in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. He's born and raised in Brooklyn. I told him, get dressed so we can go to an event in the city. What do you think he wore?
I'm gonna say Jordan.
I'm gonna say Yeezys.
I'm actually gonna go with Yeezys.
Yeah, I was gonna say Yeezys as well.
Puma Clydes.
Now, what was we talking to? That's the sneaker that started me becoming a sneaker collector.
My son showed up in a pair of red Puma Clydes.
Nice.
Fat laces and everything.
Nice.
I don't live with my son. My son stays with his mom. That's how he showed up. Why did he show up that way? Because of who his father is. And because of things that I haven't said and the things I have said to him. So now when my son goes to buy his, because he shops with his own money. When my son shops, he goes online, he's like, all right, Puma Clydes. I can get a pair of those, and I can get these, and still have money in my pocket, and now I have 2 pairs of shoes as opposed to 1. So for him, his mentality behind sneakers is more freshness and still some bread in my pocket.
Than the price point.
As opposed
kinda
to
funny.
as opposed to being broke and having a shoe that the gram is going to approve, and then when he wants to go to Shake Shack, he got to sell the fucking shoe. So it's an education thing.
Now,
it's definitely an education
To
thing.
play devil's advocate, right? The kid who buys 4 pairs of the hype release sells 3 and keeps 1 and profits a couple grand.
I like that kid, but he's not real.
Yeah.
Why isn't he real?
Because his money, the kids who you're talking about who do that, their parents are pimping them to get all those shoes.
That's not always the case?
That's a large majority of the case.
Well, I'll say this.
It's a large majority of the case.
Because I mean, like when I was that age, like 14, like again, I was going to Bape, right? And the first paycheck I ever got, it wasn't even a check, it was just cash. Like I was working 9 to 9, Saturdays, Sundays, and weekends, just grinding, right? And I went to Bape, and when I realized like, oh, I could get there at 9 in the morning, buy 2 hoodies for $800, and then sell one of them for $800 that day. So I'd be walking out with a free $400 hoodie. The light just switched in my head. I'm like, oh shit.
You're rare. You're not the average kid.
Oh, I mean, that's what
And
it's all about
you
to be about.
You know what's happening now?
There's a few
But-
people
but-
like that. There's
No,
that's not.
But that's
you're
what we
rare.
used to do, though.
But I know a lot of people like.
Here's what current
Like when you're talking about your nephew making 70 grand as a 14-year-old selling sneakers,
because that's
I
what
think that's
I
dope.
did coming
If
up.
you're making 70 grand selling sneakers as a 14-year-old, somebody's financing you.
No.
You're not doing that on your own.
Well, let me
Keep
say.
it real.
No,
Keep it 100.
I contributed to the beginning.
All right. So this is
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Be-
So you're miseducating
Yeah.
by even co-signing that.
No, I'll say why. I won't say that because that's how I came up.
But
Before
then,
it became this whole
then the
thing,
cycle started with you because you taught to sell as opposed to curate.
Nah, I actually.
And that's
thought-
not a criticism
No,
of you
no.
because I know you know your stuff.
The reason why I said
But-
I disagree because I kind of thought like your son, where I thought, listen, now your son thought to keep money in his pocket. I thought to like, all right, if I can walk in the store and they're not gonna give me a limit of what I can get, and I've worked and made $1,000, and I can get the Jordan 1s for $145, I'll buy 5 or 2 and hold it.
But see,
Because in my mind, I'm like, oh,
That's gonna
I
increase
might
the
have a
value.
homie.
But
that
see, here's
might
the thing
want
about that.
one.
Here's the thing about that. My son will never pay that much for Jordan 1s because he remembers me telling him when they first came out and they cost $65.
True,
Right.
true.
So now my son is walking with $130, $140 for some Jordan 1s? You mad. And he'd go for 2 pair of Puma Clydes. So again, it's education.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at the kids who flip and resell if he keeps one because that's business. That's commerce. Sneakers is a $77 billion worldwide business.
'Cause that's how
I'm not
I
mad
look
at the kid who saw the value in keeping one and then flipping because he's like, yo, I need to keep this because there's a reason why I need to keep this.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he buys 4 pairs and flips 4 pairs, that's
But-
a culture vulture.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't personally like that pair, right? He's like, oh, that's gonna fund whatever I do want, right? If he recognizes hype, I just look at that as an entrepreneur. You
Yeah,
know?
that's business.
Yeah,
But
'cause
we're not
that's-
talking business right now. We're talking sneaker
It can,
culture.
I think
The
those
question-
things can coexist, though.
No, they can't. The question was, what's wrong with sneaker culture? Right? So when you talk sneaker culture, again, you're talking hip hop culture,
Right.
right? Let's never lose that. So these are hip hop rules that govern how you're supposed to handle sneaker culture.
Right.
That's what I teach. I don't stray from that.
Okay.
So if you're talking business, yeah, we can talk business all day. It makes sense in America to buy something that everyone has in high demand and make sure you flip that for a profit. Shoot, there's no issue with that. Those two are not the same thing. We're not talking the same thing right now.
But I feel I see where you're coming from, but even with what you're saying, I think as time prevailed, it evolved. I think the sneaker culture is
and,
that.
And hip hop culture
Well,
coincide together.
Well, see, you can't say it evolved and say it's dead at the same time. Because something doesn't
I see the
evolve if it's dead.
I see the oxymoron.
It's a damn zombie.
Maybe
You know
what
I'm
happened was that the time where we came up, I guess now it's like I said, everything was just a fun hunt.
But see, there's a slight difference.
Yeah.
See, you're a little younger than me. When I
No,
came
we might
up,
be the same age,
when I
but-
came up, there was none of this buy sell madness. We went Freeman, right? Freeman's, Vim's, L&L Sneaker King, downtown Brooklyn, 125th, 4th. We went wherever we needed to go to get them because we wanted them.
Yeah.
We saw the value in us rocking them and using them to express ourselves. It ended there.
But if you
There
had
was
an
no
app,
thought.
then you would have used the app.
But this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm saying.
We didn't-
But I'm like, these kids were born in this world.
That's
But,
why I say they
but that's why I
evolved.
said I don't blame them.
No, I know.
And
Right,
that's why I
right.
said you can't say something evolved and at the same time say it's dead. So to the old heads who say it's dead, I always disagree with them.
Okay.
The folks who say it evolved, yeah, it has evolved. But it evolved with a whole bunch of miseducation.
And
see
evolution can be negative too in some aspects, right? So like, I mean, hip hop has evolved into this multi-billion-dollar industry as well. It's far and away the most lucrative and biggest genre of music and of culture
Without
in the
question.
history of man,
Without
right?
question.
So, and that's incredible. That's something that started here. The people who started it are still here to tell the tale. Nothing has ever exploded this quickly. Like, you're talking about 45, 50-year history at most. So if you think about all of that and the trajectory of it, it's hard to maintain and control and teach when the accessibility and there is no central
I agree.
figurehead. There's no one and similarly with sneakers, right? So the companies have created the access so some kid in Alaska can buy up the whole stock and you can't do anything about it because he scripted a code that said, I'm getting all the fucking Yeezys.
Agreed.
So,
again, you're still talking about commerce. You're still talking about business. So
I see what you're saying.
Here's the analogy I want to use for you,
Sure.
right? We all watch like these shows on Animal Planet and Discovery Channel, right? Where the guy or the guys want to go into this far off village or land, right? Because he's heard about this mythical fish or monster that he wants to cover, right? Can he just drop himself down into that locale where he thinks this monster is and just navigate his way till he finds him?
No, not at all.
When he goes to that village, he gets appointed a person who's going to translate. He gets appointed a person who's going to navigate his way, and he also gets a person who's going to teach him about the culture of these people where you just dropped your ass with these cameras. Right? So I like to call it the old African village mentality.
Yeah.
And those African villages, they're the ones who told you who was hot, who was next, who the proteges are. We determined the rules.
so
They still do it. So culturally, we have to still determine who's hot, who's not, who's next. And we've allowed these magazines, Pitchfork and Complex and everybody else to do that. And it's not correct. And we're not correcting it.
But I will say, I won't throw names. I feel like the fundamentals you're talking about, I think a lot of the guys who came from that era, I'll say maybe I'm that guilty one too, is going to these magazines and creating these forms that create what's going on now. So wouldn't you?
I agree with you. I agree that we have some rogue agents. I hear you on that. We got some rogue agents, but there are far more people who are the purists and the curators and the cultural gatekeepers out here than those. So I think that when we get upset about when MTV does a top 10 hip-hop list and when Complex does a this list and when Pitchfork says all that, I think we're giving too much credence and validity to them telling us who's hot. And we should not be giving up that power. And that's one of the things, again, that I love about the low-life movement is nobody ever had to dictate who you guys said was hot and what isn't. It's one of the few subgenres of our experience.
You're right.
It's one of the few subgenres of our experience here where they can't touch it that way and they can't control it. It's a marvel to me in that regard. And I told you that, Prince. I told you. Like, they can't just drop ship themselves into the low movement and then just create this whole narrative that works for them.
That's why these retro pieces are hitting the sales racks, because the way they're doing it is just, they thought they could just, it would be, floodgates would open up, and, you know, they're not even understanding their consumer at all. So, like, there's a disconnect there. But that's why, like, with the sneakers, it's sort of different. Like, I think Nike has a deep understanding of their consumer.
No, they don't.
You don't think so?
I don't think so either.
No, they are so far removed from what the consumer is. It's just that they are.
I just want to be able to purchase the shoes, and I open the app, and it says I have to purchase it at 12 p.m., and I'm there at 11:59, and then it's sold out as soon as it's 12 p.m.
But see, the things you're talking about,
I don't even buy sneakers
the things that you're talking about, you would have a problem with just as a general consumer, not as a sneaker customer.
I'm
so
very
frustrated
about it. Yeah.
So again,
that's why I'm disconnected from it, because my path to purchase is I have to deal with some schmuck who, like, but
see, here's the other problem with
the kid I talked about already.
But see, here's the other problem with that. If you're basing your existence in sneakers only on the issues and your plus and minuses on one brand, you're not living based on what I call a healthy sneaker diet. I'm in a pair of $34 Asics 6 days out of the week. And do you ever have a problem getting them?
No. I know exactly where to get them.
Shouldn't change your love for sneakers then.
It doesn't, but I mean, damn, I was like, I want those React Element 87s. Those shits are hard.
And you couldn't get them.
I clicked at 12 p.m. and then they're all sold out.
But listen, you couldn't get them.
What the fuck?
You couldn't get them. So what?
You know,
what?
No, I didn't lose any sleep over it. I'm just like, yeah, that's frustrating.
But that's the thing that Nike is banking on, and a company like Nike is banking on listening and seeing how frustrated all these people get. With not being able to get the shoes, because they're going, yep, see, they want those shoes. They're going crazy. They're going crazy.
That's what they want.
Let's do the mythical restock.
That is so true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the largest footwear company in the world.
They could make 1.2 million of that one shoe. And
exactly.
They could do it.
For example, the Air Jordan 11, right? Every year in December, they put out an Air Jordan 11.
Every year in December, some kid dies over them.
Some kid dies over a shoe that is made between 700,000 and 1 million pairs every time. Every time.
Yeah.
So they want to control that narrative behind saying how unique these shoes are. Even though, what's unique about 1 million of anything?
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
But
and that's the thing that's killer to me. It's
but see, my thing is, and this is one of the things that I really push hard on, right? So, like, look, everybody in this room has a different brand of shoes on. Yeah. Right? Everybody.
Oh, shit.
There's 1 million sneaker stories out here. There's 1 million brands, right? That we could be following along with and making sure that we agree with, number one, the way we can get the shoes. We like the quality. We like the price. Like, we should not be basing our sneaker existence on 1 or 2 brands.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said
that. I have, right now, I have 30 different brands of sneakers in my closet. 30. So the guy who goes home and he has nothing but Nike and Jordans or Nike and Ultra Boost and all that, and I don't think that guy is living a full sneaker life to me. I don't think he's missing so many dope stories, so much quality, right? You know, he's missing so many things that we love, the stories we love to tell, like through expressing ourselves. Like, it's like the guy who drives 1 car for the rest of his life to me.
He don't know nothing.
He just gets that new. He just gets that new car every year. He buys that same flipping Benz or that same Ford or that same Chevy every year after year.
But they walking in these sneaker stores with blinders on, just focus on.
Right, just focus on that.
But you see, I'm probably that guy now. Because I find myself trying to
a pair of Chucks every day.
But you said you're that guy now, which means you reached that point through a journey.
He's riding off in the sunset in that Chevy right now.
Because I tell people, right now, and I guess it goes with our title, Been There, Rock That.
Right.
Now I'm in a situation in my life where it's like, you know what, I want to find something that fits my everyday, has great, and I'm a type of person, I like history. I like the history that comes with it. I like what they put into it. And I like the fact that it goes with everything.
Yeah.
It's not to say that I won't find a Diodora vintage piece that I won't get.
Right. And you can appreciate it because you've been educated on that.
And I'm totally with you on that. my frustration with Nike is just that, you know, I mean, my winning percentage on that damn app is worse than my winning percentage at Citi Field. Like, I'm 0 from a million on that
And
thing.
you're not the only one.
I know.
You
And
know what
I
I'm
know I know my friend who started my friend started the madness by scripting the original sneaker bot. Like, so like I know the origin story of that. And I know, like, you know, when I see...
No indictments on here, Rob.
No,
no names.
Hey,
track you down.
I don't want them knocking at my door with it.
Hey,
Don't be dry snitching.
It doesn't matter at this point. They can't go after anybody.
Snitches
So
get stitches.
no, stop it. So I'm not naming no names. My point is, to me as a former diehard sneaker consumer, and I say former in the sense that going after releases, right? Like now it's like, oh,
After what you like.
I have a post-surgery ankle right now. So I'm like, damn, I'm going to go for those New Balances. I'm going to go for those Asics. I'm going to go with whatever I put my foot into feels the best.
Right.
Sight unseen, right? I had a pair of Monarchs unironically. 2 of them, actually.
And you was rocking them pretty good, though.
And, I mean, I throw, like... I'm not going to look bad out here, you know, that's not my goals. I mean, but, you know, if I put on a pair of ones, to be honest, this is not a comfortable sneaker for my situation.
No,
it's a flat sole,
Yeah.
you know? And so, like, that $40 pair of Nike Monarchs that you can make look all right in any colorway other than the all blacks.
Shout out to Jason Maiden on the Air Monarchs.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The origin stories are cool. I read a couple articles on that. But you know, like, there's like a lot of, like, for me, like, just there's a disconnect now. It's left a bad taste in my mouth. There's still things that I would like to purchase, but I'm not going over retail ever in my life again for a pair of sneakers. I'd never like to hit retail again if I could avoid it, but, you know, it's just...
But see, here's my question to you, right? So is your viewpoint and your take on how you feel about sneakers based on your experience with Nike?
Not entirely.
What you said, but it is in large part.
In a large part, for sure.
And I think you should change that, because that's exactly the criticism he has about the young kids.
Yeah. There's a psychological element that I was not allowed to own a pair of Nikes as a child because of the child labor. Rubbed my mom the wrong way. So that wasn't allowed in my household. So that and the pro wrestling and all the things that wasn't allowed in my household became something that resonated with me.
Forbidden fruit.
So, and I never even wanted the Jordans because I was a Knicks fan, right? So when I was able to buy my first pair of sneakers with my money, it was a pair of Nikes. Because I was like, damn, I watched all these Air Maxes go by for years. And when the Prestos came out, they blew my mind. There was always like, there's something there, right? And so when they do something, when they push the envelope with the technology, with the design element, I'll be like, oh, that's something I'd like to purchase. It's not that simple anymore, right? So it's gotten more complicated. I don't have the bandwidth to go and say, let me go make that plug. Let me, you know, do some favors and vice versa. And
it's too much politics.
It's too much politics. I'm like, this should be a simple transaction.
Right.
I have money, you have sneaker, we exchange.
Right, and that's why I say we have to start telling people to stop basing their experience with a particular industry based on one brand.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But, you know, they're Apple. You know, I'm not going to start getting Dell computers. You know, it's you know, sometimes, I don't know, like, that might be the too plain of an analogy, but if you can't really ignore...
Well, they're both one and the same.
I mean,
Apple is the Apple in their industry, and Nike's the Nike in their industry.
So, but, you know, it wasn't another brand that started it for you. You know, it was the Air Max 1.
Well, before the Air Max 1, I wore Puma Clydes and Adidas Shelter. And those were the shoes that I started at 13 wearing.
And the Puma Clyde was the first shoe I loved, too.
That was my favorite.
The reason why that particular one shoe, which happens to be from Nike, meant so much is because of all the other stuff that I went through to get it, and then the reaction after I got it. And mind you, again, this was 1987, not 2017.
Right.
You know? So that reaction that we got, that was what we all seek when we get fresh. You know what I'm saying? So
that was my first.
It just happens to be the 87, the Air Max 1 for 87 for me, but it could have easily been that for somebody else from that time frame.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's why I say what I'm saying in terms of, if you have an issue with the way you buy something, then your issue is with the way that company allows you to buy it. But I don't think that should sour you or shape your experience with an entire industry.
Oh, no,
because
for sure.
of that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. No, I'm still buying sneakers. I'm just not successfully buying Nikes.
But this is one of the things that I tell people is there's so many dope stories out there from so many other brands. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Prince's outfit. We can go outside right now, right? He's MCM down, right? And we're in the middle of a tourist central neighborhood right now where we're recording, right? We can step right outside this door, go right over to that bowl, right over there where everybody's taking pictures and cheesing and standing up. And there might be, out of that 100 people standing there might actually be 2 or 3 people who actually know what MCM means. We go back to the hood.
What he has
we go back to the hood, and we ask that question. No one's gonna know. No one's gonna know. There's got to be an educational perspective to this. We got to start making sure we know what the hell we're wearing and why we wear it.
Well, this guy quietly wore MCM for years and didn't tell anybody about what was going on.
That wasn't nice, John.
Easy.
I could walk down to the memorial wearing this and no one will know what this piece is.
You might find someone. You don't know. It's polo.
I ain't gonna lie, Sean. I think you kind of bring in a little my passion back with your little conversation here.
Break out the
But listen, Steve.
Yeah, we had to talk about the PlayStation.
But Steve, the truth is, right? At this point, right? If we're not living to educate people about why we wear what we wear and who we are, right? And how we're not these like superheroes. Like we gotta stop being these cool guys who nobody can approach, right? That's the problem too, right? There's too many cool guys that are unapproachable, and no one can have conversations with them.
The secret,
right? That's not the era that we grew up under. The era we grew up under with dance, with art, with music, with everything, we had to step to somebody and say, "Yo, I want to do that.
No doubt.
I want to get fresh like you. I want to paint subway cars. I want to break dance on cardboard. I want to be a b-boy. Help me." You know what I'm saying? Like that era's gone because the gap, the bridge is not over the gap anymore. Like, you know, we take it to the music perspective. A lot of old school dudes are bitter at how much money new school cats make.
Definitely.
And they've decided to say, "Yo, fuck these guys. That's trash. I can't believe they're making that much money off of that."
That's
as opposed
every single that goes across sports. That goes everywhere, right? Like the NBA guys saying these kids couldn't play in the 80s. It's the same thing. Like it's a matter of they should go for guidance and wisdom, and there has to be a reaching out of some sort.
Well, sports has the same issue that we're talking about here right now.
Yeah.
Because when you hear Shaq talk about, for example, when he first got into the league, Shaq makes it known, and Shaq has made more money than everybody that mentored him. He made it known. When you wanted to get a suit, you went to this guy. When you wanted to do finance, like they had a whole toolkit. And even the guys before Shaq, they said they had a whole toolkit that they had to go. When you wanted to know who to invest with, you wanted to know where to go buy a suit. When you wanted to get a house, renting versus getting a house, and like, how long do you want to play for this team? If you want to be here long term, then maybe you should get a house. If not, maybe you should rent. Like, all these things came to them through mentorship and guidance behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? And the analogy I use right now is with like LeBron James. LeBron is doing tremendous things, right? But LeBron put his boys on with him, and Maverick Carter is making sure his business is handled. He's not out here doing it by himself.
Nope.
You know,
and he's got 9 figures behind him because he's doing the right things.
Right. So we gotta stop leaving, these kids out here to their own devices and just doing this shit by themselves, and then we're criticizing them, we're knocking them. I used to have that same mentality where I was like, "Yo, these kids are fucking everything up. They're a bunch of goddamn idiots." But then I realized, when we started social studies in 2011, right? As an offshoot of our podcast. So OSD started as a podcast in 2007. So by 2009, we started getting rumblings from people in the industry that people were at the Nikes, Adidas, and everybody were listening to our show to learn how to do their jobs. So people were like, "Yo, you guys need to consider education, because let me tell you, you are actually educating people in this industry on how to do their jobs." So by 2009, we were sparked to start moving on that line to educate. But the podcast was started originally because it was like, "Yo, nobody's out here talking about sneakers, the ugly truths, nobody's out here talking about that. We need to get this show together and do that." And now, you know, we're sitting here as comfortable as they, you know, doing a podcast. In 2007, people were like, yo, podcast, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what station are y'all on? Y'all on BLS or some shit? Like, it was a whole lot of questions behind people not understanding this medium now. So, to see where we went, we had to change our mentality to the point that if we don't accept the responsibility we have with this thing that we created and the value that we have now with it, then we part of the problem.
Sure.
Feel me? So it's the same thing for all of us, right? If we know that there's something we could be doing to make a difference in this thing that we love so much, and we not doing it, if you just bitching, you part of the problem. The same thing with the old school hip hop heads. It's the same thing with the fashion heads, the dance heads. It's the same thing with sneaker lovers.
That's it. At the end of the day, I mean, like my motto is, I show them better than telling them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You going as far as Japan and showing them how to do this.
That's how you got to do it.
Right?
You know what I mean? Definitely.
So, I mean, we have to accept the responsibility. We cannot continue to be the guy who stands on the side and we, like, bitching him on.
No doubt.
And on that note,
No more bitching and moaning.
No more.
Culture.
we got to wrap this up. Sean, what new projects you have going on, and where can they find you online?
Yo, so, man, we're going to have to do a part 2 because
Definitely.
Yes, sir.
the end result of us connecting a capsule was I am now going to be ranking scholar at Drexel University in Philadelphia.
That's incredible. Congratulations.
Opening on October 11th. So I'm doing the Soul of Philadelphia exhibit as part of my opening ceremony to celebrate me starting as ranking scholar at Drexel University.
Yes.
So that was something that
Blessings.
came from that time where we was at Capsule killing it.
That's it.
And, you know, just still expanding the social studies program. So if anybody's interested, you know, catch me on IG, OSD_Paperchasr. It's PAPERCHASR. So the E is missing for a reason, which I guess we can talk about in part 2 also.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
That's one of my criticisms of Nike, Rob.
All right.
Robbie.
Fingers, ROBBIEFINGERS, Instagram, Twitter. Play Vici, PLAYVICI. Free to play sports, betting, games. Lot of good stuff. So totally legal, totally fun.
Go Cowboys.
Win real prizes, and yeah, here we go. Prance.
No doubt. Yo, Prance Low, 24/7 on IG. Yo, before I even pass it off, yo, happy birthday to Bags Low.
Oh,
Yo,
And,
bags.
And definitely salute to Ralph Lauren on that limited edition Yankee jacket for
Crazy.
the 50th anniversary. It's a beautiful piece.
There you go.
Plus the hat.
And the glove and the ball.
There you go.
Yeah.
Stilo.
Whatever.
All right, you already know STELO 1009. Catch us also on Been There, Rock That.
$90 baseball.
On Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, as far as podcasts, Spotify, iTunes.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. We in
Everywhere.
these streets. So, you know,
The digital streets.
keep following the scene. Motherfucking John Green.
Hey, thank you, Sean, for coming out. You definitely.
Definitely.
Do a part
Thank you, brother.
2. Check out Double J Vintage. We have pins, we have totes, and this week we will unveil the Been There Rock That hat. Will finally be available for purchase.
Woo!
So get ready for that.
I can't wait.
Trying to think. Oh yeah, check out polopirate.com. I finally figured out how to fix my website, and it's up now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, I want to give a shout out to Just Blaze son Solomon. He turned 1. I was at his birthday Sunday. I forgot. Happy birthday, Solomon.
Salute.
And to you know, well, Prance knows this is like an inside joke. To Teresa, you know, have a safe trip.
Bags.
You know, we talk a lot. Have a safe trip, girl. So this has been there. Rock that. Check y'all later. Ciao.
Peace.
Peace.
Sorry.
When the conversation get good, it's like an hour ain't
Nah, that
enough.
shit was crazy.
Sorry tomorrow.
You know us, man. If we don't deliver these jewels, man. Great work.
Oh,
Great work, man. Word up.
Sean.
We don't deliver these jewels, man. We
definitely got to do a part 2.
Appreciate you, bro. You already
I'm looking
know.
forward to part 2 of this, man.
Know that.
I loved how you threw that in, man. Because now people is gonna be like.